Hey, thanks for checking out this episode of Content Waves, a podcast about content-led innovation and the people who are using content to connect and engage in meaningful ways. I'm your host, Monica, and today's guest is Samina Minda Hossain, a content developer at Kontent.ai. She's part of our customer education team, and she knows how to make croissants. So, of course, we had to dig into those layers of complexity on both skill sets. Hope you enjoy our episode. Hey, Samina, thanks so much for joining us on Content Waves. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
I am doing great, and I'm especially glad to have you on today because you have some amazing advice for our listeners. So, could you introduce yourselves and share a little bit about what you do at Content.ai?
Yes. Firstly, thank you for letting me join on this really cool podcast. And about myself, so my name is Samina Minda Hossain, and I'm from the customer education team. I work as a content developer where we create educational content and documentation for Kontent.ai. We have a learn portal over there. So if you want to know how to, explore using Kontent.ai, you can hit at Kontent.ai learn.
That's awesome. And the other reason I wanted to bring you on the podcast, not just because you are a content expert, but you're actually an expert, or I will call you an expert, in something else, which is baking croissants. And to me, when I learned that about you, I was like, okay, for my own personal reasons, I need to talk to her about that and learn. And so that's why I thought today we could get into that a bit. So, what got you started with croissant baking, and why did you even choose croissants?
Yeah. Firstly, it's because when I wanted to start baking at all, I wanted to challenge myself, like, what can I really, really bake? And then I was very curious about how croissants were baked, how were they made, basically. So when I looked at the recipe, I saw it was like 2 days or 3 days to create this very delicious pastry. And I was like, okay, should I try this? I really stalled for a bit there because it's a daunting task. But I have this like a me versus me mentality. If like, I really want to do this, I think I can do this. So I overtook the task. Little did I know that even though my first attempt was not so great, but it turned out so delicious and it wanted me to like perfect it further and further and further. So croissants actually taught me such great valuable lessons like to respect the process, the patience, and also the precision. So yeah, it just doesn't it gives you the reality check that you cannot cut corners here if you want a great finished product, let's say.
Mhm. Wow, 2 days. That is certainly a daunting task, and I can imagine just having had many croissants in my lifetime that it is quite a process to do, and that's pretty cool that you wanted to take on the challenge. So, for folks like me who just buy croissants and enjoy them thoroughly, can you actually walk me through how to make them?
So, yes, first you need to gather a good set of ingredients like flour, butter, but not any kind of butter. It's a high fat butter, yeast, water, sugar, salt, some eggs, and milk. And first, you prepare the dough, and you have to reach to that desired consistency, like puff pastry. And you also need to prepare the butter block. And once you have set that, then you are ready for the lamination process. So lamination process is basically a process where you roll out the dough, put the butter block, encase the butter into the dough like a letter, and then you roll it, then you let it rest in the fridge, take it out, roll it again, fold, rest, and repeat. So you do this kind of process like 3 times. And after that, you can start shaping your croissants, but then you have to let it rest and rise, let them proof again. So that way, the croissants, they're small in size, but then they will become a bit double in size afterwards, and then they're ready for baking.
That sounds like a lot of patience and a lot of steps. What are you doing when it's resting? Are you resting?
Yeah, and just praying to the croissant gods, like, please let this croissant work, let it work, because anything could go wrong. So it's a very delicate process as well. Otherwise, like, I just do some other stuff as well while I wait for it to rest. Like I play games or read a book or listen to a podcast or watch a movie, something like that. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of steps, a lot of mental load going on. But for you, when you've done this multiple times now, what would you say is the most difficult part to master?
It's the consistency for sure, especially when you are preparing your butter block. When your butter becomes too warm and then you put it into the oven and you let it bake, the butter starts to leak. And if you prepare your butter and then fold it, if it's like too cold of a butter, then during the lamination process, it breaks. So you have to hit the right spot to get this whole process right so that your butter does not leak, but it does not break.
Did you
So
learn
yeah,
that the
that's
hard
the
way?
Oh, yes. I think so last year I did like 10 batches of croissants, like not like 10 batches at once, but over time throughout the year. And I think after my fifth or sixth croissant batch, I was like able to hit the perfect process there, not letting the butter be too warm or too cold. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is super delicate. I can imagine that when you have these maybe fails, there are also lessons to improve. So it's nothing's a fail when it comes to croissants, right?
Absolutely. No. I
So
mean, even if you fail, sorry. I mean, even if you fail, let's say in the process, at least you will get the delicious result anyway because the flavor is there. So, and it's a way it's like teaches you a lesson. Like even though you didn't succeed in having the perfect croissant, but at least it teaches you to make the next croissant batch better. But you can still enjoy the result. So yeah.
yeah, that's good. I mean, that's true. If those ingredients are delicious, they're probably going to be delicious, even if it's not the most perfect croissant. But I really appreciate and value that you are in pursuit of the most perfect croissant. So, to make that most perfect croissant, what tools do you actually use and find essential to the process?
So my staples are a rolling pin, it's a must, a stand mixer because I cannot knead so well, unfortunately, and a dough scraper, and finally a wooden block. Sometimes the kitchen, well, if you're very if you're aiming for absolute accuracy, a kitchen thermometer helps too. But for me, I just rely on visual cues. So yeah, these are my tools.
What are the visual cues that are really important to you?
The butter especially. And when you prepare the butter block, you have to make sure that they're kind of pliable, like a little bit bendable. Not that it's like too soft or not too thick, but a bit bendable. And that's when you know that your butter is ready to be rolled during the lamination process. And otherwise, maybe it's not so visual cuey, but the sensory touch. When you feel that your dough is cold, that's when you know that it's good enough to start the lamination process. And if it becomes a bit too warm, then you have to put it back into the fridge. So, yeah.
Oh man, that's a tough decision when you're already ready to make croissants. You feel well on your way, and you have to take that step back and say, "No, I know what's best, and I have to be a little more patient." That's impressive. So, I've learned a lot already about how to make croissants, but I'm not exactly sure if I'm ready to proceed. But let's be honest here, we're not here to just talk about croissants, though obviously I could all day. But I want to get more into the layers here. So, your expertise as a baker, but also as a content developer for customer education materials, your effort, all the planning, all these skill sets that you're flexing both in your personal life and your work life, it feels quite similar. And maybe you guys were reading the subtext on that content production process. So, I'd love to take a closer look at that with you today. Are you up for that?
Absolutely.
All right. So, what parallels do you specifically notice making croissants and customer education materials for our customers here at Kontent.ai?
So, when it comes to making croissants, like not only you require the expertise, but you also need the effort and the planning. And you always have to like measure, you fold, and then you proof carefully so that the croissants actually turn out great. And if you skip a step, then like we said before, the product doesn't turn out great. So this is the same thing that's true for writing educational content and documentation as well. You go through research, you draft, you review, and then you finally publish. And each of this stage builds on the last. And if you skip one step, it could hinder how our customers could consume the content and it would leave them struggling. So we want to make sure that everything is done right to the T, basically. And when it comes to the layers, as you can see, as you can eat it, the croissants, all the folding in the croissants is actually adding a layer into the structure, adding the depth and the taste. The good educational content also has those layers too, where you'll have clear explanations, step-by-step instructions, visuals, and real-world context. So they both may look simple on the surface, but the richness really comes from the complexity of the craft, basically.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is a lot of layers to manage. And again, that mental load of when to fold the laminate, when to have the right butter temperature. It's so many moving parts. What do you like about managing all these moving parts? Is your mind set up for that?
Yes, if you have some consistency like in your processes that you know what you need to go through, I think that you can still pull through this process. You'll be fine as long as you know what you're following and you have your tools in order as well. Yeah, basically that's it. Just roll with it. Pun
Yeah.
intended.
That's amazing. So I want to dig a little bit more deeply here and go into these delicate layers a little bit more. So croissants, definitely the delicate layers are what make it fantastic, and great content has layers too. So how do you think building complexity and depth in both your pastries and in your writing?
So when I was in Sweden, I remembered this word so clearly that I still apply it into both like writing and in baking as well. It's called lagom, and it means not too much and not too little, striking the balance just right. So with croissants, you just create enough folds to create or to give that structure, but not so much that you can make the dough very dense. With the writing, it's actually the same thing. Um, you provide enough details to guide the customers, but you don't want to confuse them too much or overwhelm them. So you build in layers, like providing clear steps with helpful visuals and contextual explanations, but always make sure to keep the usability as the focal point.
Oh, wow. That is, again, the delicate balance and also showing restraint in writing and in the layers that you're adding. I think that's great advice. And also in life, let's be honest, great advice. So as we're looking at advice, what advice would you give someone who is struggling with either process? So if I decide after this podcast, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for croissants, Amina. What advice are you going to give me to make sure that I'm successful, or at least moving towards success?
Yeah. Firstly, the mental readiness, I would say, for sure. Croissant is a very laborious task, but on the real side, don't rush and trust the process. Don't cut the corners, because cutting corners will like impact your, of course, the croissants, but more importantly, we're talking about content creation here, so it really impacts the content creation too. Take self-reuse, do peer reviews too. They're extremely beneficial, so that you can always so that you can always present accurate information in your content. And of course, you need to remember iteration is part of the craft. Whether it's a failed batch, it actually failed batch, or let's say a failed result of your writing, it will teach you as much as the successful one. So always go through like the learning process. You test it, you draft it, and you refine, and you're good to go.
hmm Yeah, that's really helpful to make sure to always, if you have the mental readiness, you will be able to maybe accept failure a little bit more gracefully than if you aren't mentally prepared for what's ahead of you. I'm curious, Samina, what tools in customer education are useful for you? What's your rolling pin? What's your wooden block? What's your kitchen thermometer? What helps you be successful every day when you come into work?
So there's a lot of tools there, but I think, of course, having Kontent.ai as the tool itself is so great, because you have all the necessary tools over there that helps you with like not only like collaboration, but also to take it through the content creation process. You have the comments and suggestions tools to actually like inform your reviewers that, hey, what changes you've done there. You can take your content to the next workflow step process so that you can inform the reviewer that it's ready for this next step before it actually goes into publishing. And then if you want to publish at a different time, you can schedule publish. And of course, we have those great AI capabilities to help polish our writing a bit further as well. So definitely like AI accelerates our writing as well. So these are my go-to tools whenever I use like in Kontent.ai. And otherwise, there are some other tools like when I want to keep track of like impromptu to-dos. I have my reminders tool in the MacBook. I also have like task management apps that I also go for as well. And yeah, I think that's that on top of my head. There's so much more, but those are like my go-tos for sure.
So you have tools that make you successful. You have your processes that make you successful. And I'm sure that sort of mental readiness and strength is making you successful. So how do these all work together? How important are the tools? How important is the process? And how do you make them work really well together?
Right. So I think with the processes, with the tools, they actually go hand in hand. You cannot go to the next step without a set of tools that you have in your arsenal. Let's say if you want to layer the croissant, you can't really do that without a rolling pin. You can do that with your hands. Same thing with writing your content. You cannot just do it without, let's say, a notepad or your other writing application. Or you cannot just be in a silo without informing your team members of what's going on with your draft or what's going on with your content. You need some kind of like communication as well to really go through, and definitely having feedback helps. So when someone, let's say, tastes your croissant or reads your content, you really do need that feedback to help you go forward to the next step as well. And all of this actually just are interconnected together. Without the process, and these tools are just sitting there. Without the tools, the process won't really go to the next step or anywhere. So I think both of them actually like go hand in hand together.
That sounds great. And I'm happy to provide you any feedback on your croissants at any time. If you're ever interested, I'd love to do that. Since we're here to ride the content wave, one of the things I'd also love to ask you is sort of this pay it forward approach to recommendations from experts in their field. So what's one book, article, podcast, or piece of content that you find yourself going back to again and again? And can you also let us know why?
Right. So a little backstory. I've always had trouble with my confidence, with my speaking as well. Even though like sometimes I have this nervousness, the jitters and whatnot, I always try to remember the advice that I got from this book that I actually have it here.
Oh,
And it's
nice.
called Happy High Status by Viv Groskop. And here, Viv actually teaches you how to exude confidence naturally, what really comes naturally to you, but doesn't have to be like very enforced. And it also makes you feel authentic in your confidence as well. So when it comes to like, for example, in my experience of content creation, it's not like me being alone writing content. It involves like talking to numerous people and also like holding meetings and so forth like that. And so without having that confidence, I would probably block myself from writing actual great content if I don't really like, for example, ask the right questions or incite new ideas that could help shape the content further. And so me being a shy person and remembering like how to channel my natural confidence, I think it really helps me, thanks to this book, basically. It helps me to like carry out the conversations that's needed to create content as well. And still be myself, just to be myself, be my confident self. And just that basically.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for the recommendation. I liked at the beginning of the podcast, you talked about you love a challenge, the me versus me. And it also sounds like that does not just apply to croissant making, but also the work and care and thoughtfulness that you put in creating customer education materials for our Learn portal. Do you find that me versus me mentality carries through a lot of the things that you do?
Absolutely, in almost everything I do. Even like in writing content or anything that I do in life, I always really want to challenge myself that I can actually do this. I did this before. Now I can let me think about improving it better, like having the best version of yourself, like every time or every phase and every year. So I don't know how I got this mentality, but I do, and it's made me the way I am. It shows in my work, in what I do. So yeah, I think that yeah, that's actually a great thing to have, to keep yourself in check too.
Hmm. Wonderful. Well, we are so glad that you could join us on this podcast today. One is you have inspired me to start thinking about building my mental resilience to eventually start making croissants. So I'm not quite there yet, but I think you've inspired me that it can be possible if you have the right tools, the right process, the right mindset, and from the content creation side too. I think there's a lot of another pun, food for thought here for our content professionals who are listening. So thank you so much for joining us today, Samina. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Same, the pleasure is mine too. Thank you so much for having me, Monica.